The Myford University podcast, episode 46. Traditional higher education is like the Kobayashi Maru test. Welcome back to the Myford University podcast, where we teach you how to learn fast and apply it even faster. Today's episode is for my fellow Star Trek fans. We did one last week. We talked about the Borg. We're talking about the Kobayashi Maru today, and it really is for anyone who's felt trapped with the traditional higher education system. We're going to be talking about why college is like the Kobayashi Maru test, a rigged, unwinnable situation, and how you can cheat the system by choosing alternatives that actually get you ahead in life and business. So let's dive in. What is the Kobayashi Maru? If you've seen Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, very good movie, Ricardo Montalban, you know the scene. Kobayashi Maru test is a no-win scenario for Starfleet cadets. It's designed so that no matter what you do, you fail. You lose the ship, you lose the crew. Now, Captain James T. Kirk, he couldn't accept that. He hacked the simulation, rewrote the rules, and won. Not because he was smarter or luckier, but because he refused to play the game designed for him to lose. Now, my point of view is that that's traditional higher education today. And that's really it. It's the Kobayashi Maru. There is just no way to win unless you circumvent the system and do something different. So let's talk about the no-win test of college. And we're going to break it down. Basically, college today costs anywhere between $100,000 and $250,000. I say closer to $300,000. Once you include tuition, housing, room and board, fees, and lost income. The average student loan is around $37,000 with plenty of people owing in the six figures. You'll be paying that off for the next 2-3 decades. It's like a mortgage. And here's the kicker. About 40% of college graduates start out underemployed, working in jobs that don't even require a degree. Many stay stuck for years in that spot. The ROI, or return on investment, is weak or non-existent, especially for majors like liberal arts, communications, or religious studies. So you get up and give up 4, 5, maybe 6 years of your life, depending on whether you're on the 4-year plan or on the 6-year plan, and you pile up debt. For what? A piece of paper that may or may not move the needle in your career? That's the definition of a no-win test, unless you cheat. So let's talk about some cheat codes. Like Captain Kirk, you don't have to accept the game. You can rewrite the rules. And the good news, there are plenty of cheat codes. There are alternatives to traditional 4-year degrees, and we talk about them here a lot. And we're going to talk about them again. So let's go through them, because repetition is the mother of learning. One of the best alternatives is to go into the trades. So there are trade schools. It's the first cheat. These programs cost $5,000 to $25,000, in many cases less. They take 1 to 2 years, sometimes less, not 4 years. And they prepare you for jobs that are in high demand. I see it all the time in my work. Electricians, plumbers, welders, HVAC techs, they're going begging for people. So there's high demand. The median wage, $55,000 to $75,000, often higher with overtime. Once you set up your own shop, then it really gets unlimited. And here's the kicker, folks. By the time your college peers are still in year 3, you're already earning and building your career. You're putting money in the bank, not into the college. Trade schools are a serious cheat code. Let's talk about another one that's near and dear to my heart. I say that this is probably one of the best alternatives to doing an MBA degree, and that is starting a small business. Startup costs can be shockingly low. It depends on what you want to do. I mean, you could do something simple like a landscaping company We're a few $1,000s and some hustle. You could do a cleaning service, that's even less. Or you could buy an existing business. Many sell for under $100,000, which is far less than 4 years of tuition. Instead of studying business theory, you are the theory. You're living it. You're learning sales, operations, finance, customer service in real time. That's a faster, more profitable MBA than the one you would get if you were sitting in a classroom. Take my word for it. Some of you may have some talents in terms of digital media. Plenty of opportunities. Very easy to start a small business doing that. Plenty of alternatives. Another approach, full-on entrepreneurship. This is your third cheat. In today's digital economy, you can start something for almost nothing. And this is kind of what I was hinting at a moment ago. You can do a podcast. You can do a YouTube channel. You can do consulting. You can do a newsletter. You can do digital products. The upside is unlimited, and every failure is a crash course in resilience, customer psychology, and iteration. You're going to learn, and you're going to learn fast. College says, let's study theory for 4 years, and then maybe get a job. Where entrepreneurship says, launch today, learn tomorrow, and pivot the next day. That's how you win. And the thing is, when you build a business, whether you buy a small business or you build one or you do an entrepreneurial venture, at the end of it, after you've been earning from it, you can sell it. You cannot sell back your college degree. There's no terminal value on a college degree. College is not going to buy it back from you. But you can sell a business that you've built. Here's another one. Apprenticeships. This is your fourth cheat. Apprenticeships are powerful because they're free, or sometimes you even get paid to learn. They last 1 to 4 years, but unlike college, you're earning while you're learning. There's a lot to be said for this, and a lot of people kind of, snicker at it. But if you're going to go into the trades, you can bypass trade school if you can find a tradesman that's going to, willing to be your mentor and apprenticeship you, and you'll probably get paid. Minimal at start, but once you get the skills up and running, then you get paid a whole lot more. And at the end of it, you're going to have real world experience, a credential, and a network of people. Employers trust apprenticeships because they're practical and they're proven. I mean, think about it. Would you rather have 4 years in a classroom or 4 years of on-the-job training plus the income? Employers know the answer, and so should you. Here's another cheat code. Certifications. These are short, sharp, and targeted. I am a big believer in these. The cost is anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s. Many of them you can, do on the cheap. Not even a few $100s. I'm going to talk more about my certifications in the future. And in some cases, your employer will actually reimburse. So the time involved is weeks or months. Some of them can be done in just a few days, actually. And the ROI is insane. A $2,000 certification, can lead to a $15,000 salary jump. I talk about this one a lot. You can go for whatever you want. AWS and Google Analytics, they offer low to no costs and certifications, and you get, a nice little job or a bump in your current job. There's ROI that no college degree can touch in the near term. Certifications, again, are cheat codes because they are specific, fast, and directly tied to employer demand. I've talked to people all the time. They're very interested in the fact that I have a PMP. They're interested in the fact that I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt. They're also interested in, the fact that I hold OSHA 10 and OSHA 30, which is good when you're doing construction-oriented project management, which is a big part of what I do. So these are things that can be gotten. You can get that OSHA one, I think it was under $100, and I think it's 10 hours. You can get an OSHA 10. And it's part of requirements, more so than a degree is, I'll tell you that. Courses, this is your sixth cheat. You can use platforms like Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, or even some niche creators that offer courses on almost any subject. Myford University's got some courses that are upcoming. The cost on most of these courses, are free to maybe $2,000. I've done a lot of little courses, and in some cases, your employer will actually have courses that they offer that you should be taking advantage of. Doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time and effort. And let's talk about time. We're talking hours to just maybe a couple weeks, not years. The outcome is immediate skills that you can use. Skills that matter to people: Excel modeling, copywriting, coding, project management. College makes you wade through 4 years of semesters that include general education for the first 2 years and courses that let you zero in on exactly what you need later on. But these courses and mini courses, you can do. I've talked about the idea of just-in-time learning. Get what you need when you need it. Here's your 7th cheat. How about books? A $20 book can contain 20 years of someone else's experience. You can get it from a library for free. Don't return it late, because then there's overdue fees. But the bottom line is, books. When I read a book, I'm always looking for at least one gem, and I'm really happy when I get 3 to 5. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's late partner, he says every wise person should read all the time, and everyone he knows that's wise reads all the time. Warren Buffett reads 500 pages a day. Compare that to paying $200,000 for a degree. Books are the cheapest cheat code you'll ever find. I always think of and I've talked about this before, I believe. I always think of the scene in Good Will Hunting when they're in the bar and he's talking about that PhD student, and he says, there's an education you could have gotten for $1.50 in late fees at the library instead of $150,000 at the time for Harvard. So books are your 7th cheat. All right, let's talk about the 8th cheat. How about seminars and workshops? These things cost, $50 to a few $1,000s. They take 1 to 3 days, and they deliver concentrated, actionable insights plus powerful networking opportunities. So instead of slogging through 15 weeks, which is the typical time of a semester, of lectures, you immerse yourself hands-on in training and walk out with results that you can use immediately, sometimes in a day or two, sometimes over the weekend. Sometimes they're in really nice places too. So seminars are accelerators. They compress learning into maybe mere days instead of hours or years. Instead of years. How about the 9th cheat? Let's talk about boot camps. Boot camps, if you're more tech oriented, let's talk about some of those. Coding boot camps, UX UI, which is user experience and user interface, data science. These are intense, 12 to 24 weeks long, and cost between $5,000 and $20,000. The result? You get job-ready skills. Many boot camps even guarantee placement or your money back. Does college offer you that? They'll give you your money back if you don't get a job? I don't think so. Imagine compressing a 4-year computer science degree into just 4 months. That's a cheat code. You're out there earning and learning while getting paid, while everyone's still sitting in classrooms, scratching their head and paying for the privilege. Listen, you need to tear and compare. I mean, let's pause for a second and lay it out side by side. College, you're looking at $100,000 to $300,000, 4 to 6 years, uncertain ROI, and of course, high debt, unless someone else fit the bill for you. Trade school, maybe $5,000 to $25,000, maybe 1 to 2 years. High demand, solid ROI. I've told the story before. I knew a woman whose son was making about $60,000 to $70,000 working as a welder, and he hadn't even finished welding school. They were so hot to get him. Just imagine what he made when he got out. Now, small business, you can spend less than $10,000 to either buy or create one. It's variable, and the unlimited upside is very powerful. And like I said, you can sell it at the end. Can't sell back your college degree, I'll tell you that. Entrepreneurship, low cost, it's ongoing, and it's unlimited potential. Apprenticeships, again, free or paid, and 1 to 4 years, sometimes even less. Skills plus income, that's what you want. Certifications, some are free, some are a little more, but for you typically $200 to $5,000 perhaps. You're talking weeks and months and very high ROI. Courses, free to $2,000, weeks to months, very high ROI. Books, free if you use the library, or you go and do a curb alert and pick up some books that someone's getting rid of. Sometimes you'll see those on Facebook Marketplace. Hours to weeks, extremely high ROI. Seminars, $50 to $5,000. Couple days, very high ROI, and usually in a nice place. Boot camps, 5 to 20,000 weeks, very high ROI. You can see where we're going with this. Now, here's the real kicker. Here's the secret sauce. Mix and match some of these. Stack 2 or 3 of these together, and you've got something a college degree promises, only faster, cheaper, and better. I do a whole bunch of these. And granted, I do have a bachelor's, and I have an MBA, and I have a Master of Science, but I have done small businesses. I have done entrepreneurial ventures. I have done certifications. I still do them. I still do courses. I read books all the time. I've gone to seminars. I'm telling you, mix and match, very powerful and very up to date and relevant, which is something that college is starting to, lose and miss the boat on. All right. So listen, I always like to concede, when college still makes sense is there are some circumstances. To be fair, there are some fields that actually require it, actually fairly and unfairly in some cases. But if you're going for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, you kind of have to go that route. If you're going into medicine, law, accounting, teaching, you've probably got to get a college degree. And in fact, some of those are artificial barriers. I've been threatening to talk about that, and I will in the coming weeks. But unless you've got a full scholarship, the math really doesn't change much for you. And the college experience, quote unquote, is a lifestyle choice. And that's valid too, but don't confuse it with getting a solid ROI. It's a very expensive party is what it is if you don't get the payoff at the end. For everyone else, the no-win test, just remains unless you cheat. Let me share with you my take on this. The Myford University take is this. At Myford University, we believe in the Captain Kirk approach. Okay? I'm not saying shortcuts. I'm saying smarter decisions to avoid dealing with a rigged game. So don't accept the rigged game. Write your own script. Our philosophy is simple. Learn it fast and apply it faster. Stack a certification with a boot camp. Add a side hustle. Mix in some books and some courses. Maybe an apprenticeship. Suddenly you've recreated the value of a degree for a fraction of the time and cost. And you've got tangible results, not just a diploma. Again, there's a number of ways to do this. So in closing, I'm going to say this. Rewrite the test and win the game. Kobayashi Maru wasn't about starships. It was about a mindset. Think about that for a second. Traditional higher education is the same. It looks unwinnable because the system isn't designed for you to win. It's actually designed for them to win. And it doesn't work for you unless you find another way. Trade schools, small businesses, entrepreneurship, apprenticeships, what else did we talk about? Certifications, courses, books, seminars, boot camps. These are your cheat codes. So don't play by the academy's rules. Write your own. That's how you beat the Kobayashi Maru of higher education. I want to thank everyone for listening to the Myford University podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit subscribe, share it with a friend, and check out our blog for more ways to accelerate your education and your career. And remember, until next time, learn it fast and apply it faster. Thank you.